Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Jade Melody here, and today it's episode number 2 of my Healthy and Happy Hip Flexor mini-series. So last time in episode number 1, we covered strengthening the hip flexors. So if you have quite weak hip flexors, how to strengthen them. But today we're going to be going over flexibility. So if you feel like you have a lot of tightness here at the very front of your hips, just above where your quads finish, if you feel like here is really tight, or you do a lot of sitting down during the day, then they are probably tight, then this is the video for you. First of all, we are going to cover whether you do have tight hip flexors or not, how to figure out whether they are tight, and then if you figure out that they are, how exactly to solve it. So grab yourself a mat, join me, and we're going to make sure that you have the most flexible, bulletproof hip flexors around. So first of all, let's find out if you do have tight hip flexors by lying down on a bench. You can lie on your bed or a bench or any kind of flat and elevated surface, and we're going to go for knees nice and close to our chest. We're going to do one leg at a time. So one leg, we're going to try and extend the foot down towards the ground, keeping this other knee nice and close and trying to slowly let that leg hang down towards the ground. You're going to kind of relax in this position. Now, if you can feel a really strong tug on the front of your leg here, you definitely have tight hip flexors. You should ideally be able to get your hamstrings to kind of relax on the bench and really get your foot comfortably down towards the ground. Now, if you find that your leg is stopping here and you're already in loads of pain, and there's a lot of room between your kind of hamstring and the bench, then again, you probably have tight hip flexors. If you're able to relax that foot all the way to the floor, no issues, your hamstring really starts reaching towards the bench and you're not finding that your back is having to arch to make that happen, then you might have quite flexible hip flexors. It's best to always test this on both sides, so bring the other knee in and then again, dropping this leg down, trying to keep your back flat and trying to get that foot to go towards the ground. Again, if there's lots of room here and you're not able to get that foot down, probably have tight hip flexors, but if you're able to really drop that foot down nice and comfortably, then you probably have quite flexible hip flexors. Now, if you do have tight hip flexors, it's going to limit you in a lot of things and cause you a lot of pain, and probably also cause you pain in other things like your knees, your back, and inside of your hips. Also, if you don't have very flexible hip flexors, you're going to find getting to the top of a hip thrust really difficult. And the top of the hip thrust is where we get all of the glute gains. So if you're not able to get to the top, you're going to be minimizing your glute gains. So if you've just found out with that test that your hip flexors are not very flexible, what are you going to do about it? Stick around, I'm going to show you just the exercises that you're going to need.
So first and foremost on this flexibility, we've got the classic kneeling hip flexor stretch. This one we're going to be knelt down and we are just going to start off with it dynamic. So you can do this before your workouts, or if you've just gone into your stretch and you don't want to start straight away doing a static position, then you can start dynamic. So you're just going to rock forwards and backwards, thinking about trying to get that hip, the one that's open, so the same as the back leg, closer and closer to the floor on each time you rock forwards. So rocking backwards, rocking forwards. These dynamic ones are great to do before your training, or like I said, if you want to do some stretches but you're not that warm yet, you just want to warm into that position. You don't really want to be stretching static cold muscles. It's not super useful to do that. So starting off those dynamic ones is great. And then going straight into that static hold. So after you've done a few of those rocks forward and backwards, then just holding in your end range of motion and trying to push that hip down into the floor as close as you feel like you can get it. And you can either keep your hands on top of your leg or on the floor. We're then going to be trying to catch the back leg. So we'll do a few again dynamic ones. It's going to be opposite arm to your opposite leg, trying to rotate round, catch the toes and let them go. Then we're going to go up onto our tiptoes of our back leg. So we're going to take the back knee off the floor, go onto our tiptoes and use the weight of your body to pull you deeper into that stretch, just to stretch that hip flexor even more and use your body weight to do so. We're then going to come a bit closer into a more upright kneeling position, and from there again it's going to be trying to go around and catch the back leg. A little bit of stability needed, so try not to fall over like I did. Use your core to stabilize you, and again it's opposite hand to opposite leg, rotating around. First of all, we do it dynamic. We just try and catch, reach, try and catch, and just pulling that heel closer and closer to your bum on each one. Do a few dynamics and then hold in static again. So now we're just holding it, trying to pull the heel as close to your bum as you possibly can, and try to keep your pelvis relatively neutral. So try not to stick your bum out or stick your bum forwards, just keep everything as neutral as you can. You can kind of hold with whatever hand feels comfortable, or both hands, or whatever really feels good for this one. Main focus is to pull that knee as close as you can. And eventually we'll be trying to lean this even more forward to get that hip flexor down into the floor in that position. Again, find a position that feels comfortable, and we're trying to hold. Thinking again now, pushing that hip flexor down and close into the floor there. Obviously going to make sure to do both sides, so let's do a little swap onto the other side. Again, we're going dynamic first. So into that big kneeling position, pushing that hip down, rocking backwards, pushing that hip down, rocking backwards. So just try and find a little bit of positioning, rocking forwards and backwards, thinking about that hip flexor, trying to sink deeper into the floor with each time you rock forwards, trying to push it a little bit lower down. Again, kind of sitting upright for this one and using your body weight to push that hip down into the floor there, sitting it nice and low. So a few dynamic times. First of all, get that hip flexor nice and warm, and then holding it static. So then I'm just sitting into my bottom position, using kind of the weight of my own body to sit into that position, use the weight of my torso to sit into it, and really just try and hold there. Deep breaths in this position, and then we're dynamically twisting to catch the back leg. So again, opposite arm to opposite leg, rotating round, trying to catch that foot, and then let it go. Remember that if you can't reach it yet, just keep trying. Just keep trying to rotate that chest round, keep trying to catch that back leg, and eventually one day you'll just be able to catch it. We're then going knee off the floor, back knee off the floor, onto those tiptoes, high lunge position, and just use that body weight to again sit into this stretch. Fall closer towards the floor as you can. We're then bringing that back knee nice and close, going for a bit of a closer kneeling position, and again it is rotating round. Again, it's going to be opposite leg, opposite hand, trying to catch and pull that heel close, and then let it go. We'll then go for a bit of a lean forwards once you feel comfy. Just trying to lean forwards now, push that hip closer down towards the floor. And again, if you kind of want to play around with what hand is holding the foot, that's absolutely fine. You can play around with the position here, and now just trying to push that hip down into the floor as we pull that heel super close to your bum. We're then going for what is known as a kind of camel pose. So you're just going to be sitting on the floor first of all, and then holding your ankles with your hands. So putting your hands on your ankles on either side. Now this one can be quite tough, but a really good stretch for if you're trying to nail a bridge down. So here we're going to lean backwards and push those hips forwards, trying to arch the back, extend the head behind. Now you can either hold your ankles or your feet, or just the floor next to your feet. It's completely up to you here. You're trying to squeeze your glutes and push your hips forward, arch your back, get into this kind of bridge position. Again, take it really slow. Don't feel like you need to hold that one for too long if you're struggling with it. Take your time on that stretch. We're then going to need an elevation for the next one. So you can use a bench or stairs or a high box. You're going to put one foot on top of that elevation and the other leg behind in a big lunge. From there, just going to try and sit into this stretch, letting the back knee fall towards the floor, and again trying to think about pushing your hip into the elevation, so into the bench or box or whatever it is you're elevated on, and trying to push right through here. Now this one's going to help you get better depth in a step up, so it's a really good stretch. Make sure to do both sides here. So again, other foot elevated on top. If you need to hold on to something you can, but thinking about pushing that hip down into that elevation. This is similar to the first kind of lunge stretch, but this elevation gives you a little bit more room to kind of push through, really sending that back knee down to the floor and pushing that hip into that elevation as much as you possibly can. Next up here we have another hip flexor one, which is using the wall for a little bit of stability. So we're going to kneel on the floor and you're going to try and shuffle your foot up the wall and shuffle your knee as close to the wall as you can. So really trying to get that knee as close into the wall as you can. Now you can start with just your hip down and your chest really close to your front leg. If you feel like you're struggling, just kind of start in this forward position. However, when you feel ready, rock backwards to sitting up, and again trying to push your bum closer towards the wall / your back heel. You're also trying to push your upper body and your upper back towards the wall as well, and trying to get everything as close to the wall as humanly possible on this one. And you can just swap onto the other leg as well, and in the middle you can go for one of these big elevated kind of cobra positions. So both knees against the wall, both toes up against the wall, and letting the hips relax into the floor. Again, you can make this dynamic if you want to, squeezing the glutes, arching the back and trying to push the hips down into the floor. Again, great one if you're trying to get good at a bridge position or any other type of backward bend gymnastics position, and trying to make it dynamic if you'd like to, and then holding at the end, squeezing those glutes, pushing those hips down into the floor, shoulders down as well. Just try and relax those hip flexors as much into the floor as you possibly can, making sure to breathe and hold in this static position after you've done those dynamic ones.
And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me for episode number 2. Hopefully you're feeling super flexible in those hip flexors now, and some of your pain may be reduced as well if you keep up these stretches on a regular basis. There is one more episode of this series, so do make sure to subscribe and stick around for episode number 3 to find out how to make your hip flexors super healthy and super happy. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye!